Now, ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450 and 99.5 The Bus proudly present the Lion Country Kia Penn State Postgame Show. Relive today's game. Hear from head coach James Franklin and have your voice heard. The Penn State Postgame Show is sponsored by WR Hickey Beer Distributor, the Dalton Group at Morgan Stanley, Big Valley Cabinets, Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, First Citizens Community Bank, the Student Bookstore, Stalker Chevrolet, your cigar den and Monte Cristo Lounge, the Penn State All Sports Museum, Ben Franklin Technology Partners, Beer Belly's Beverage, Metzler Forest Products Landscape Center, Joel Confer Toyota and BMW, Joel Confer Quality Pre-Owned, Center Care Inc., the Penn State Bookstore, Lion Country Kia, CSL Plasma, the Tavern Restaurant, Bobby Rahal Honda, Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority, PBCI Allen Mechanical and Electrical, and by Confer's Jewelers. Call in at 814-272-9625 on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 99.5 The Bus. Now, here are your hosts, Zach Seyko and Jason Lord.
Penn State 35, Purdue 31. A comeback, 72-yard drive. Sean Clifford 6 for 7 on the final drive. Penn State is 1-0 to start the season. Once again, back-to-back wins on the road to open up the season against Big Ten opponents. It doesn't get any tougher than that. And we're taking your calls if you're up. It's Postgame After Dark, sponsored by Lion Country Kia. You can call 814-272-9625 or 814-867-9287. That is 272-9625, 867-9287. We know the students are awake because they are on Beaver Avenue right now celebrating. That was quite the roller coaster of a game, Jason. And if Penn State had not come back, the tone of the show would obviously be very different. But Penn State gets a win. That is all that matters at the end of the day. You are 1-0. Gritty, not pretty, I've seen going around online right now is the phrase, and I think that fits Penn State very well. And again, we do want to hear from you. Phone lines are open if you're still awake. We know that people got work tomorrow. And that was, Fox really milks their commercial inventory.
Long game. No doubt about it. Long game. And obviously, it got ugly at times. Ugly win beats a pretty loss any day of the week. I think really just a good job on that final drive. We'll get into the game obviously more, but Clifford 6 of 7 on that last drive. Purdue's play calling questionable to say the least. With 3 minutes to go in the game, and a good win for Penn State. A win is a win no matter how you get there, and they're 1-0 now, and you get that little bit of a break in between there. You got practice tomorrow, but you have that 10-day preparation now as you get set for the home opener against Ohio and noon coming up September 10th.
Yeah, they get the extra rest. We don't take any here. And we have our first caller of the night. If you're still with us, caller, who are we talking to on the Penn State Postgame Show? Are you there?
Me, Rob.
Hello.
Hello.
You're live on the Penn State Postgame Show.
Okay, I have a question. On the touchdown throw to Strange, no one has talked about this or said anything about it. But Strange's foot touched the sideline at our own 48. The referee that was downfield just a little bit further, his hat landed at the Purdue 36. Why was that? I'm very, very happy. The play was wonderful. The play was great.
Yeah.
Why wasn't it called back? Why wasn't it reviewed? Why did nobody talk about it?
All right. Thank you for the call. We'll get you an answer now. So Penn State, the explanation that Joel Klatt gave, the TV announcer, the TV color commentator with Gus Johnson, they do a phenomenal job on Fox. Right. Of course, Steve Jones, Jack Ham, Brian Tripp. This is why we have them on the radio, because they do a great radio call. But he brings up a good point. Why was the Brenton Strange touchdown allowed? Because a lot of Purdue fans are going to cry that wasn't fair. I will go ahead to say that I will just reiterate what Joe Klatt's explanation was the fact that he was pushed out of bounds. So Brenton Strange didn't go out of bounds willingly. So that's number one. That's the first part. Number two, you have to reestablish yourself.
Second part's the big part.
So he reestablished himself in play. It's not like he was catching. So what does reestablishment mean? Okay, you have to come back in the field and basically make a football move. You can't be coming out of bounds to make the catch.
Right.
He was back in the field making a football move to get open. It's a very bang-bang play. It's very dicey, and it's one of the ones that we're going to talk about through the night between, of course, the puke six, as it's been dubbed, the Payne-Durham almost catch, because that would have put the game away.
Would have put the game away. I don't know why they were throwing it there to begin with, but right, would have put the game away.
But that is the explanation, is the fact that Brenton Strange was pushed out of bounds by the defender. He did not go out willingly. He was pushed out, and then he reestablished himself. So there was two parts, and that's an important question brought up by the caller. Thank you for the call. Again, 272-9625 or 867-9287. We want to hear from you. Questions about certain plays, penalties, questions about where Penn State is headed after winning against Purdue 35-31.
Yeah, and I think just going back real quick to that play, you go. I'll make the comparison to the Lovett touchdown against Ohio State that was called back. He didn't establish himself back into play, pushed out of bounds, and ran kind of just perpendicular and then went back onto the field. Didn't reestablish himself. Strange reestablished himself after he was pushed out of bounds. That's the biggest thing. Second part of that's the biggest part. You reestablish yourself back in play, that makes it a legal play. And it was a completely 100% legal play because of that. And, Strange obviously goes into the end zone. I thought that was a huge drive for Penn State to keep the foot on the gas in that situation and not sit on it before halftime.
Other instant reactions from the game. And in this post-game show, we're going to talk about scores from around the NCAA with our out-of-town scoreboard. We're also going to nominate a play of the game, probably multiple. There were multiple plays of the game, and we'll get those calls from the radio network. Hear from head coach James Franklin in his post-game presser, and look around the conference before we preview Ohio and look at some of the upcoming schedule in the immediate future. Again, we want to hear from you. This is your show. This is your time to be heard. 272-9625, 867-9287. You put the 814 in front of it. Like I said, we know you're awake because all the students are keeping you up on.
As long as they keep it peaceful, as long as they keep it clean, keep it safe down there.
No light poles overturned.
Keep it safe. You're fine. That's fine.
That hurts the taxpayer.
It's okay to have a peaceful celebration.
I'm a taxpayer. That hurts. Please don't do that.
Does, but
but my instant reactions from the game are that was a roller coaster.
Right.
I go back to and everybody the reactions were completely polar opposite, because if Sean Clifford does not lead that game-winning drive, the conversation that we're probably having with the callers, maybe even between ourselves, and the conversation that's going to be out on social media, well, Drew Allar's got to be the guy. Someone's got to, Christian Veillere, basically anybody but Sean Clifford. He can't be making those kinds of passes when he's a 6-year veteran. And you're right. You were right. I'm glad that he had the poise and the toughness to come back in, because obviously he was banged up. They said it's cramps. He took an IV, whatever the case was. But you can't have your 6-year veteran making throws like that. A wide open, I thought it was Parker Washington who made the route. I think I was corrected. It was Mitchell Tinsley who was wide open on the crosser. Perfect route run right in the middle of the zone defense. And Sean Clifford just totally overthrows him, and it leads to the pick six. At the end of the day, your quarterback should not be doing that.
No, that's a high throw.
And if he doesn't get the game-winning drive, our conversation's
sure it's different.
Very different.
Yeah, sure it's different. There's no doubt about it. But in that situation, I think you do go with the experience on that final drive.
Everybody that was experienced was
absolutely.
in there. You did not see Singleton or Allen.
And that's the right move, I think, in my opinion, by James Franklin. You have the experience in that spot. You have guys that have been in that spot before. And Clifford comes out, goes 6 for 7, and a well-orchestrated drive, really. And I think Brady Quinn, to his credit on the TV broadcast, made this point. I think you need to see that more out of Penn State. You need to see the up-tempo offense a lot more, because you saw it twice tonight, and it resulted in 14 points. So I think that up-tempo offense is something that they have the ability to move the ball down the field with, and they did that really tonight. 2 touchdowns. 2-minute drives resulted in 14 points.
Well, some of the best Penn State offense, at least under James Franklin's tenure, came with Joe Moorhead.
Right.
And I know the talent. No one's going to disagree with me when I say this. The talent on those rosters from 2016 and 2017 were a lot better than the current group.
Yeah, and it's
right
a more
now,
mature group, too, obviously.
Yeah.
I think this
You had
is
Seyko
for the most
Barkley.
part. Yeah, it's Seyko Barkley. That's for the most part. Yes, Sean Clifford's on this team. I get that. For the most part, this is a younger team. It really is. You're going to see those inexperienced moments from time to time out of this team.
We're going to give you our position grades as well, but just any other quick reactions before we go to commercial break here.
The biggest thing for me on the flip side was Purdue. I talked about it just briefly there at the beginning. You had 3 minutes on the clock there. You had first down and forces a timeout for Penn State, second down, and you're throwing the football both times. I think you were just waiting for them. Yeah,
the running game wasn't perfect.
No, but it worked. They were averaging over 4 yards a carry.
Yeah.
It was working at that point.
It wasn't perfect. The Penn State disrupted some plays.
It did, but you make them disrupt them. You make them call timeout there. That's just not a good job by Purdue with the play calling there. Really on the last 2 drives, they kind of abandoned the run entirely, but especially on the last 2 drives prior to the final drive, I should say. The last 2 prior to Penn State taking the lead. And part of it was just, I thought in that moment, you were running the ball effectively enough that you were getting 5-6 yards on first down. And I thought you really needed to do that at the very least, force Penn State to call their timeouts, or short passes. Don't zip the ball down the field like they did there twice. I thought the play calling it questionable at best by Purdue on those last 2 possessions there prior to the final drive.
814-272-9625, 814-867-9287. We're going to be giving the phone number out all night. That is the Penn State fan hotline, sponsored by Confers Jewelers. Confers Jewelers is our official sponsor of the Penn State fan hotline. We want to hear from you. Positive or negative reactions. I know some people are thrilled. I know some people are like, man, that was a close one, and that's okay. We want to hear from all of you. This is your show. It is the Penn State Postgame Show, sponsored by Lion Country Kia, here on State College's ESPN Radio, 103.7 and 1450, WQWK State College, and 99.5 The Bus, WBUS Center Hall. When we come back, the out-of-town scoreboard, where we look at all of the relevant scores from the NCAA. 16 football games tonight occurred. Penn State wasn't the only team in action, and we'll go through more of the events that occurred in this game and give you our positional grades. And we return here on the Penn State Postgame Show.
Tune in for PA Prep Sports Breakdown. Join Zach Seyko and Jason Lord every Wednesday at 5 as they discuss all things high school sports in Pennsylvania, including your local area favorites, Bald Eagle area, Bellefonte, Hens Valley, Phillipsburg, Osceola, and State College. Plus, hear directly from the coaches and players themselves with exclusive interviews only heard on the show. That's PA Prep Sports Breakdown, Wednesdays at 5 on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450.
FCCB, we'll make it happen for you.
If you're looking to renovate your home, tapping into your home equity may be a good way to find funding. A flexible home equity loan allows you to use the amount of funds you need when you need them. And you can choose to lock in the rate on any portion of your balance if you think rates will go up. Call FCCB today at 800-326-9486 or visit us at myfccb.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
Together, we'll get it done. FCCB, we'll make it happen for you.
My dear, beautiful, brilliant friends and customers, what is your favorite season? Mine is the season of love. But of course, and the season of love is all year long. If you found your partner for life, your partner in crime, your partner for laughter and love and sharing this amazing life, yay! And now it's time to say those 4 words to seal the deal. Will you marry me? For the diamond that makes the season of love your own favorite, come see us at Confers Jewelers in downtown Bellefonte.
Hey Penn State fans, recycling at your Beaver Stadium tailgate is as easy as blue and white.
Just remember to follow these simple instructions.
All plastic, glass bottles, and metal cans go into the blue bags, and paper and other trash items go into the clear white bags.
True Nittany Lion fans always leave their tailgate areas better than they found them.
Once again, when you're tailgating at Beaver Stadium, all glass bottles, metal cans, and plastic bottles go in the blue bags.
And all paper and trash items go in the clear bags.
Thanks for recycling from the Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority.
Now back to the Penn State postgame show, sponsored by Lion Country Kia on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 99.5 The Bus. It's time to check the out-of-town scoreboard. Let's get the rest of the results from college football. Sponsored by the Student Bookstore, a Happy Valley tradition. The Big Blue on the corner has been serving Penn State and the State College community since 1966. Visit the Student Bookstore today for all your Penn State apparel and tailgating needs. 330 East College Avenue, downtown State College.
Week 1 was very exciting. Penn State 35, Purdue 31. And I see we have another caller. We'll get to you in just a moment as we look at some scores across the NCAA. Penn State 35, Purdue 31. Current scores that are in action right now as we speak. Arizona State 37, Northern Arizona 3, Fresno State 28, Cal Poly 7, and San Jose State 14, Portland State 10. I know how interesting some of those games are to Penn State fans right now. But
that's the kind of game you flip through the channels. Hey, football. There it is.
Hey, football.
Yeah, about that.
Oklahoma State beats Central Michigan 58-44, over 100 points.
Chippewas will be here in a couple weeks.
Yes, they will. Wake Forest beats VMI 44-10. Akron, Joe Moorhead, first year coaching at Akron, former Penn State offensive coordinator, 30-23 is able to sneak out a victory. That's a close one against a St. Francis team, in overtime. Tennessee handled business against Ball State 59-10. UCF beats South Carolina State 56-10. Florida International beats Bryant in a thriller. This one went to overtime 38-37. Toledo handles Long Island 37-0. Northern Illinois beats Eastern Illinois 34-27. UAB beats Alabama A&M 59-0. Missouri beats Louisiana Tech 52-24. And Minnesota 38, New Mexico State 0. Like I said, 16 total games tonight. And, of course, how could we forget Pitt and West Virginia? The backyard brawl did
first time in a while.
Did not disappoint for the first time in 11 years.
11 years.
And that game was 38-31 final score. Pitt wins in Acrisure Stadium. We have a caller. Let's see who we have on the line. Who are we talking to right now on the Penn State postgame show?
What's up, Zach? It's Toby Prime.
Hey, Toby, thanks so much for calling in. Toby is on staff here at the radio station. I'm glad you're up late tonight. What's on your mind?
Well, I saw your tweet, and I figured I'd call, and I figured the main storyline tonight might have been Sean Clifford about how he's doing, but we saw Drew Allar there for a drive. I just want to hear about what you guys have to say about that drive from Drew.
All right, what are your thoughts on it real quick?
Well, my thoughts real quick, I thought he looked very composed. I thought he looked, as a true freshman, he looked like he was ready to go. And I thought very confident. And I know we saw Sean Clifford after the next drive, after we punted it, come back onto the field. But as a Penn State fan and as a student, I felt very confident with having him, controlling the snap. But, as you experienced foes, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about him.
All right, Toby, thanks so much for the call. Toby Primetime, a member of the staff here at the station, so I do appreciate that, and it's a good conversation to be had because, again, if this was not a win, a lot of people would be screaming for Drew Allar right now, and it wouldn't be positive celebrations in the streets. It might be something different. But I like what Toby said. Toby brings up a good point that, he's a confident kid. He's a 5-star recruit out of high school. He was the player of the year in Ohio. I imagine that he's gonna be ready. I did see some jitters because if you watch some of the, they're like, oh, he can spin the pill. Well, that was a pretty wobbly pill on some of those throws. My favorite play was when he stepped up in the pocket, rolled to his right, threw on the run, and it was an accurate pass, but it wasn't a tight zip on the ball. And the same thing when he was trying to thread the needle on that third down, he had all that open green in front of him, and he decided to throw it instead of taking the easy 5 to 10 yards. Drew Allar's not a runner. He's not a runner first. Is he an athlete? Absolutely. But you got to take the yards. Here's what I'm going to say about that real quick. Sean Clifford and Drew Allar both did not take the easy green in front of them. I know we only
saw it once. We saw it once,
yes. Right. But when there were plays where I'm like, step up in the pocket and run. I think there's a new memo here. If you don't have to run, do not put yourself in harm's way. I really think that's what they're emphasizing on staying in the pocket and keeping the quarterbacks out of the ground game. Do you agree?
Yes.
I think that's the memo.
Yeah,
I don't think they want them to run.
No, I think that's a memo to an extent. I agree with you, but I think sometimes when you're making your first start, you're making your first game action period, you forget the old keep it simple philosophy sometimes, and I think that was part of that. You hit on it there where, 3rd down and 7 or whatever it was there, the lane was open to run. Linebacker was pulled away by the receiver, so the middle of the field was wide open for an easy first down there. In that case, do you want the quarterback to run and take a hard hit? No, absolutely not. But you want them to get the first down and keep the drive going if it's there. And it was there. In that spot, you take the simple play, get the first down, keep the drive going. I thought from pass perspective, he wasn't necessarily helped out with the catches. I thought a couple drop passes here and there, but I thought he looked pretty composed, looked pretty calm, looked pretty good. Obviously threw a few wobbly passes. That happens. You still see that in the NFL from Pro Bowlers. So that's not anything to get extremely concerned about. You want some more zip on it, yes, but we've seen enough out of him that that he's capable of doing that. The only concern for me, if I'm nitpicking, would be on 3rd and 6, take the simple play sometimes. Get that first down, keep the drive going. Don't necessarily hit the home run. Get the single and keep it going.
I really do think that Penn State has a plan to try to protect its passers. Naturally,
I think a lot of people are going to have plans to try to protect their passers, absolutely. But I think in that spot, protect them in the sense that get down, learn to slide, learn to get the yards, learn to go down. Don't take the hit. Don't do the uneasy move. But I do think in that spot you're okay with him running there and getting the first down.
Naturally, I just think that's Allar's mentality. He wants to throw the ball, he wants to chuck it. But he looked good on the one pass where he moved the pocket, was able to extend the play, allowed and that sideline pass was nice. I think there was sweat on the palms because those passes were not his best, and he knows that. But that was good experience. You shed the one game, so if he appears in 4 more, you burn the red shirt. I don't think Drew's sticking around.
I was going to say, I don't think it matters.
I don't think the red shirt's going to matter. He's not going to be here for 6 years. No. That is Sean Clifford's MO. We're taking your calls again, 272-9625 or 867 WBUS, the 9287. Put the 814 in front of it. This is your show, the Penn State Postgame Show. Let's look at the stats now. He's Jason Lord. I'm Zach Seyko. It is the Penn State Postgame Show, sponsored by Lion Country Kia, and the phone lines again are open, sponsored by Confer's Jewelers. Penn State stat line, Sean Clifford, from a stat standpoint, had a really good game. 20 completions on 37 attempts. That's 54 completion percentage. 282 through the air, 4 touchdowns, the 1 interception that resulted in 6 for Purdue. And he had the 1 rushing touchdown, as you mentioned. So Sean Clifford was responsible for 5 touchdowns tonight, even though sometimes it really didn't feel like it. The Penn State running game, wow. Penn State did not have a single rusher over 100 yards last year. Well, this team as a group did not have over 100 yards rushing. 32 carries, 98 as a team, and the 1 touchdown was Sean Clifford. Katron Allen led the way with total yards, 31 on 8 attempts. Kevon Lee, 9 attempts, 30 yards. Nicholas Singleton, 9 attempts, 22 yards. Clifford was 5 for 11. Parker Washington was 1 for 4. In the receiving category, Mitchell Tinsley led the way, number 5. Look at that. No, it was Jahan Dotson in disguise, but they didn't make it a little too couldn't they make it a little more obvious? No. Mitchell Tinsley coming over from Western Kentucky, 7 receptions, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Keandre Lambert-Smith, who I thought had a pretty decent game. He made some big catches, 4 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown. Tyler Warren, big catch late in the game because that ball was away from him. He had to reach out his arms and grab that one.
Too.
On the extension, 3 receptions, 23 yards. Brenton Strange, a touchdown that might have made the difference in this game right before the end of the half. Normally you play that conservative with 30 seconds, but they turned that fumble into a big play. 2 receptions, 77 yards, and a touchdown. The big play went for 67. Parker Washington, 2 receptions, 30 yards. Kevon Lee, 2 receptions, 15, and the game-winning touchdown. Devin Ford had 1 catch out of the backfield for 12 yards, and Katron Allen had 1 catch for 9 yards. So those were all your offensive totals. On the offense, who's a winner from this game, whether it's from the stats or from the overall performance?
Well, I think as a winner, first and foremost, you got to give Sean Clifford the nod, even though he gets back, bounces back from the pick 6, and comes back and really does a heck of a job, 6 of 7 on that final drive, and he goes from being widely criticized, potentially being under fire for his job, to engineering the game-winning drive. I think from that perspective, he's a winner. I think 2 other people stick out offensively to me. Brenton Strange, talent-wise, and he's as good as almost any tight end that has been here in a long time.
No Theo Johnson tonight.
No Theo Johnson, but he's got the tools to be really, really good, in my opinion. I think when you look at Strange and just when you get him into space, how good he is, and when he's able to get open the way he is, I think he's got a lot of tools to be a great tight end. Lambert Smith, to me, I think when you look at him, speaking of space, you get him into space, he uses that speed to his advantage, you get the ball in his hands in space, it opens up this offense a lot. And you are missing that, in my opinion, when you're looking at it from a perspective of who's going to replace Jahan Dotson. I think Tinsley up top is one guy could potentially do it, but you get Lambert Smith into space too. This offense opens up quite a bit.
For me, I'm going to go with Mitchell Tinsley. Really, he established himself as the number 1 wide receiver. Yeah. And that's just the fact of Jahan Dotson's receiver position, when it was vacated, is essentially the number 1 wide receiver position. It's not because Parker Washington isn't as talented or anything else. That's just what that receiver position commands. It is the number 1 read on almost every single play that they run. Parker Washington was probably the focus of the Purdue defense because they saw what he did in the Outback Bowl. He's made all these impressive catches on social media highlight reels, and that opened up things for Mitchell Tinsley. But I think that's just him being a naturally gifted receiver as he's worked his way up through the college ranks. Other than that, I know that's not it. Again, we went through the stats, and this isn't going to show up. But I thought the offensive line did well enough. There were points
pass
in
protection, especially. Yes,
the running game.
Yep. Wow, on the edges are still concerning. But
deja vu all over again. The running backs just don't get a chance to run downhill. So when we were seeing some under center stuff, you saw Singleton break off 10 yards. These guys are starting with their feet flat and then have to put it into 5th gear. It's really, I know what the point of the draw play is. You want to get the defense to over pursue, and then the middle opens up completely if you're patient. But that clearly just needs some tweaking anyway. I like Penn State. I mean, Penn State put up 35 points against a Purdue defense that I thought, like, hey, they aren't half bad. I thought they were going to be a revolving door, and they weren't. They provided pressure all night long. They made plays. They had a pick 6. So the Purdue defense is respectable. This is the Penn State postgame show sponsored by Lion Country Kia. He's Jason Lord. I'm Zach Seyko. Let's look at the defense. Joey Porter Jr. led the way with 8 tackles, 3 pass breakups. Curtis Jacobs had 6 tackles. Jair Brown had 5. Jonathan Sutherland had 3 tackles, a sack, a tackle for a loss, being that sack. Johnny Dixon had a sack and 2 pass breakups, and Keaton Ellis had 3 pass breakups. Very good game by the defense because they allowed 24 points. But through those stats, obviously, Keaton Ellis jumps out to me.
Yes.
Keaton Ellis jumps out. Joey Porter Jr. does
Huge.
as well.
Yeah.
I thought there were points in time where he allowed some big plays, and it's like, okay, but he almost 4 interceptions he could have had. He got his hands on 4 close balls. Whenever he got beat, he was always able to recover. Joey Porter Jr. is showing that he's going to be an NFL cornerback someday, and probably a day 1 pick. Late in the first round, maybe he plays his way up, but I was impressed with his performance. The defensive line, honestly, I was very disappointed.
Not enough of a pass rush.
I've been raving about this group a lot, giving them A grades even before, and I'll still buy into them because they have a lot of depth, but it wasn't until Chop Robinson sacked
Two
Aiden,
sacks,
sacked
Chop
Aiden
had the big
O'Connell
one,
at the end
Yeah, Chop had the big one. Then there was one previously.
So the stats are missing that.
Yeah, the Johnny Dixon sack, obviously, on the blitz.
They didn't count Chop Robinson's sack because quarterback Aiden O'Connell got rid of it at the end. So Penn State should have 3 sacks, but it's going to go as a pressure.
Yeah, I'd say it should be. Yeah.
But the defensive line, all at the bottom of the stat categories. Zane Durant, 1 tackle. Chop Robinson, 1 tackle. Akeem Beeman, 1 tackle. P.J. Mustipher, 1 tackle. Devon Ellie's 1 tackle. Amin Vanover, 2 tackles. Okay, cool. One more than 1. Adisa Isaac, 1 tackle. And not a single sack. The sacks came from Johnny Dixon out of the cornerback spot and Jonathan Sutherland, who's in the secondary normally, but sliding down to the linebacker spot. So what gives?
Yeah, that's concerning for me. Didn't get a lot of pressure on O'Connell, and he was able to pick them apart at times. I think that was one thing that concerned me, was not getting enough pressure on O'Connell. Not only getting sacks, but you're not really getting to him either. The inexperience is showing there a little bit. I think that'll grow over time. But yeah, defensive line was an area that needs improvement. Secondary, I don't want to say as good as advertised because they gave up big plays, but I'll tell you, they at times made some big plays too. And you talk about Joey Porter Jr. If he just gets fully consistent, I don't think there's any question you're going to see him in a first round pick. He just obviously dropped the pick 6. That happens, but from time to time, I don't know if lets the talent get the best of him or what it is, but yeah, if he just gets that full-fledged consistency, and I think he will as the season goes on, I'm hard-pressed to find 5 better cornerbacks in the country than him if he can just keep that consistency. And he is very clearly a great player that makes big plays, just has to keep it up. And I think secondary as a whole, safeties made big plays, and they're, I think, the backbone. They're the strength of this defense without question so far through the year, through one game. But I thought they were the strength going in as well. And defensive line got a lot of depth, no doubt about that.
It's a little disappointed.
You've got to get better. Yeah, you got to get better. Just didn't get to the quarterback enough. Not only didn't get sacks, didn't get pressure either.
Especially since Purdue's O-line wasn't bread and butter by any means.
They never recruit O-line.
They have the most depth of any Jeff Brom group in his coaching career at Purdue, but they are not an overly talented team. Let's look at the team stats because I find this very interesting, and then you and I will give our position grades before we take a timeout here. This is just total yards. Penn State 406, Purdue 426. Passing yards, Penn State 308, Purdue 356. Rushing yards, Penn State 98, Purdue 70. And I'm going Penn State, Purdue, Penn State, Purdue. Penalties, 5 for 56, 9 for 93. First downs, 24 to 25. Third down conversions, 5 of 14 and 5 of 15. Fourth downs, 1 of 1, 2 of 2. Total plays, 73 to 81. Average yards per play, 5.6 to 5.3. Red zone, 3 for 3, 4 for 4. Time of possession, 26 minutes, 28 minutes. Points off of turnovers, 7 and 7. Here's the big difference. Fumbles, 0, 1.
Turnover was huge. Led to a touchdown. That was a huge swing of events at the end of the half.
Those numbers, this was probably one of the most even games we've ever watched.
No doubt about it. And it comes down to, a concern for Purdue, obviously. You threw the ball 57 times. Your team likes to throw the ball. You don't want to ever throw the ball 60 times. I don't care who you are unless you're playing in the MAC. You really don't want to be throwing the ball that many times, or you're typically behind, or you're one-dimensional. And I thought they abandoned the run too quickly, as I said earlier. But yeah, very close stats from a Penn State perspective. I think a good finish, obviously, with the big drive.
All right, we have another caller here. You're live on the Penn State postgame show, sponsored by Lion Country Kia. Who are we talking to?
This is Joey from Bethlehem.
Hey, Joey, thanks so much for calling into the show here on ESPN Radio and 99.5 The Bus. What is on your mind?
I guess my thoughts are, we've seen Franklin be very consistent, and some would call it conservative. What changes would you like to see him make after 60 minutes of film?
Okay. What before we let you go, what changes do you want to see, and then we'll give our thoughts.
I know we're talking about college football players here. I don't see any reason to have Kevon Lee on the field. I was very impressed with the true freshman running backs. If we're talking a personnel standpoint, I'm not sure what the solution is with the O-line, but got to figure it out. I know we're talking 60-minute sample size there, but I think tangibly speaking, I would like to see the 2 freshman running backs get more touches. And I don't know. The tight ends, man, a couple drops in there. Allar obviously dropped one in the breadbasket for Warren.
Yeah.
It's very tough to say, and again, it's not personal, but Ty Howell, man, come on, put up or shut up.
All right, thanks for the call. Let's address our callers' concerns about the offensive line and the running backs. I agree. I want to see more out of the freshman dynamic duo,
sure.
especially because
and I think you will at some point.
They had the biggest runs when they were under center. Again, when you get that downhill, full speed ahead, they were breaking off 7, 8-yard, 10-yard runs, and eventually I think that home run play will be there. The draw is tough. For the offensive line, I say unfortunately, it is what it is again. I thought they held their own, but Purdue's defensive line isn't great. So the performance is going to be a little aided here by the fact that they just really weren't going up against a powerhouse. When you go up against a Michigan defensive line or an Ohio State defensive line, is it going to be tough sledding, or are they going to hold their own? They mixed and matched some guys. Juice Scruggs, I think, was the anchor in the middle, but they rotated in Sal Wormley. They rotated in Hunter Norzad. They rotated in Bryce Effner. If I'm giving anybody a failing grade on the offensive line, it is Caden Wallace. I don't know what Caden Wallace has learned in the past 3 years as a starter, because he looks very sane. He looks almost like he's still a redshirt sophomore.
Yeah, he struggled at times. There's no doubt about it. I think they're still very much, work in progress would be the best way to compliment it. They had, I think, again, the line did pretty well pass blocking. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think they did a good job there in progression, but problem is they still got to get there in terms of running the football, especially, again, on the edges. I thought they were concerning. And that's the kind of thing you talked about. You're going to play defenses that are tougher than Purdue. Purdue didn't really have, going into this game, that flashy guy.
They don't have a star player.
They don't have a star.
On offense or defense.
Either place. Exactly. And Ohio State's got plenty. Now I'm looking way ahead here. Obviously, we got a long way to go to get to that.
That's the mountain.
That's
the line in the sand.
It is the line in the sand, but you got to get there first. You got to start to get to that line in the sand. Do your best to make that line to get to that point, and that's where the concern lies. It's a work in progress. You got to get better. You got to improve. What's that answer? I don't know, because I think you see the same old song and dance at times when you're talking about the offensive line with this team. So it is concerning. There's no doubt about that. But you've got to now make your best improvement week 1 to week 2, as I think most teams do their best to do, and that's where you've got to get better. Ohio obviously is a tune-up game, I think, as you look at it on paper, as you look at it on the outside. And then you go into that tough environment in Auburn, where I think Auburn's a team that's in disarray right now, coaching under fire a little bit.
They are going to get up for Penn State.
Exactly. They're going to get up. They know what happened here last year. It's going to be an absolute hostile environment of Jordan Hare. It always is. So I think you got to be ready for that, and you got to improve, especially up front on this team. There's no doubt about that. As far as Lee being, I agree with him being in that final drive, because you got to go with experience in that spot. None of the freshmen have been in that spot before, have been in that moment, and the game's on the line. I think you got to go with experience here. It's like the coach having the rookie pitcher or that veteran pitcher. You're going to go with the veteran in Game 7 more often than not. You just are. And that's ultimately why you see Lee in that spot. But I think you're going to see Singleton and Allen get a lot more carries. I think you're going to see them get the majority of the carries at times. So there's no doubt about that.
This is the Penn State's post-game show, sponsored by Lion Country Kia. All right, real quick, Jason, we're going to give our positional grades, and then we're going to take a break and come back with our plays of the game. We normally nominate one. I think we're good enough for two here. Later on, the James Franklin presser. We're going to get our 10 minutes of unfiltered James Franklin after tonight's 35-31 win over Purdue at Ross-Ade Stadium in Indiana. Okay, just kind of real quick, maybe a sentence or two to defend your grade. Let's go quarterbacks. What is your grade?
C+. I think Clifford had his inconsistencies, but he also had 5 total touchdowns and engineered the game-winning drive. So bounced back from a tough throw. Obviously, I give him a C+.
I say B- because of that. You put Penn State in that situation. Had you hit that throw, yourself. Nobody else.
It's like the Dumb and Dumber. You totally redeemed yourself.
You're not sweating the game, but you put yourself in that position, but you bailed yourself out. So B- for me because it did result in a win. If that was the deciding play, I'd give him an F. Honestly, if Penn State walks out of there with a loss,
an F with but I think obviously the grade would have gone down a little bit if he wouldn't have bounced back. Yeah, but I think Clifford played well at times, inconsistent still at times, same thing. But yeah, in the end, I think the answer is probably do that no huddle offense a little more. I can't say that enough. Your 2 touchdowns. Your touchdown before the half, your touchdown in the fourth quarter there. Look at
Purdue
how good.
had no chance to reset.
No, they didn't. Look at how good he looked. Look at how good the team looked. You don't have time to think. You don't have time to create those moments.
Especially when you're well conditioned.
When you're well conditioned, absolutely, and that's why I think to me you got to go to that offense.
All right, running backs under 100 yards. I'm going to go. Kevon Lee had a good play, but he was wide open. I'm glad that the swing route worked. But I'm going to go D+ or C-. They really did. Other than a few 10-yard runs, they were non-existent in the game. And I thought the ground game was supposed to be better this year.
C. Yeah, I'm going to go C. I think the ground game can be there. It comes down to that line play again. You got to block, and that's a short yardage. I thought they did a better job. I will say that both of them, running game and line, did better short yardage, but got to block up front a little better in that spot, and you just need to see improvement in the running game both ways. C.
All right, pass catchers. This is wide receivers and tight ends. If you were eligible to catch a pass, you were in this category. I'm going to go C+. There were way too many drops for me.
Yeah, there were a lot of drops.
I might even go. I'll change it C- because there were too many drops right in the breadbasket, as our caller said. To Tyler Warren, Parker Washington dropped the ball, and you don't see that.
Often.
And
I give him that.
was a simple screen pass.
Yeah, you don't see.
It wasn't anything tough. It wasn't anything. You can catch the ones in traffic, but man,
yeah, you don't see that.
Ones with open green. I was disappointed. I'm going to go C-.
I was as well. I'm going to go B-. Actually, I think that one C- might be a little harsh in that spot, but I'm going to go B- there.
Yeah, Brenton Strange didn't have the big play.
Strange had the big play. That Lambert Smith had a big on a slant there. I thought there were a lot of big plays that were made.
It was just average to me.
It was average, but I think B- is for me pretty good enough.
All right, let's go to the defensive line. Go to defense, and we still have the special teams. We haven't talked about them a whole lot. Barney and Moore had a good game. Defensive line, I was really disappointed. I'm going to go D.
I'd say
just
C.
No disruption.
Yeah, give him a C. They didn't get to O'Connell
They
enough.
had about, 7 total tackles between the 2 rotations?
Yeah, defensive line struggled at times in this game. Didn't get enough pressure on the quarterback. You got to do better there. I think I'd say
no
C.
turnovers for Maiden O'Connell.
No turnovers. Didn't really get in his face much either, aside from the couple sacks you had there. So I would say C.
Linebackers, I thought, performed pretty well. I'm going to give them a B- because there were a couple plays where they got lost in coverage, but
yeah, that's the concern for me.
They looked lost at times in coverage, but Payne Durham was non-existent until one big play in the red zone, and then he almost had that catch on the jump ball or whatever where Aiden O'Connell threw it up. It was incomplete, fortunately, because that would have closed the game. But I'm going to give the linebackers a B-, maybe even a B here, because they performed much better than I anticipated.
Yeah, they were better. They weren't deep, and they got a terrible targeting call. We'll talk about probably at some point.
Yeah,
here.
we haven't even brought that up.
One thing.
Abdul Carter,
an absolute awful call. Yeah, it's.
Good to see him in the game.
Yeah, good to see him in the game. I thought he did well there. He does what he was supposed to do and goes for the ball there, which he thought was a live ball, and just. Terrible job.
Football's a fast game.
I can't even blame the officials. I just blame the NCAA, period. Get the rule out. Give me the rule. Define the rule and go from there. It's just terrible.
Or not suspend them for the full game.
Terrible. I can't stand the targeting rule because it's incomplete and we have no clue what the heck they're talking about. So that's the biggest thing for me as far. But anyway, going back to the linebackers, Abdul Carter should have played more. He unfortunately got ejected by that terrible call, but. I thought Jacobs did a good job bouncing back. And, the other
Sutherland
guys,
had a good game.
Sutherland, I thought, had a real good game. So I give him a B. I think they played pretty well.
Secondary, I'll give them a B+ because they, for all the time, for the amount of passes they had to defend, they did pretty well.
Yeah, Charlie Jones got free a lot tonight. That was the worry for me. Had a great game.
Yeah,
but
he was wide open a lot.
I think, that's our answer. Yeah.
Payne Durham
was non-existent. Yeah,
3 catches for 43 yards, 9 targets.
Part of that's the linebackers. And, secondary, I'm actually going to give an A- to. I thought overall both teams could have been called more penalties. I thought it was a chippy game. It was a touchy game at times with obviously the penalties. But I would give an A- to the secondary.
Special teams, I'll give a B+ because Barney Amore punted his heart out. 52 was his long. He had 3 inside the 20. He almost had the one at the one. Daquan Barty pushed it into the end zone, but he had 3 punts over 50 yards. Jordan Stout was the big leg, but Barney Amore, he's just 5 yards shorter than the average, so you're not missing a whole lot. And kickoff coverage was incredible.
Right.
Kick return, love to see Penn State get a kick return for a touchdown. I can't remember the last time that they did. There were no field goals, so Penn converted all 5 PATs. So I give this a very solid grade with the way that Barney Amore has taken over. He's earned that scholarship. He's worked so hard. I do want to see more out of the kick return. Punt return was good with Parker Washington. That big play, his elbow was down, but
still had a heck of an effort.
Love the effort. Love to stay up on your feet. That's really all I have. Special teams wasn't a factor, and I'm glad it wasn't.
Well, yeah, it wasn't a factor, and that's the biggest thing that I looked at. It didn't lose you the game either. So I think that I'm going to give them for that. I'll go B+. It's so hard with kick return and punt return anymore in college football. I think, like I said earlier in the pregame on the Tailgate Show, it's become fair catch university, period, everywhere. So it makes it so hard to return a kick or punt anymore. You get the ball at the 25, too. And then that's why it's just gotten that much tougher. So it's hard to grade because of that. But I thought punting the football, they did real well. Yeah, obviously didn't miss any extra points. Special teams, I thought, was in real good position. And I give them a B+.
This is the Penn State Postgame Show, sponsored by Lion Country Kia. He's Jason Lord. I'm Zach Seyko, your co-host for Postgame After Dark. We hope you're as wide awake and wired as we are here in the studio. When we return on the show, we have the play of the game. We're going to nominate 2. He's going to take 1. I'm going to take 1. And later on, we have the James Franklin presser, the post-game press conference, and we will air it unfiltered for you to get Coach's thoughts directly. It's all right here on ESPN Radio 103.7, 1450, and 99.5 The Bus.
Back to school season is in full swing, and motorists are reminded to share the road with school buses. It's illegal to pass a bus that is stopped to load or unload children. Stop your vehicle far enough in advance to allow children the necessary space to safely enter and exit the bus, and never pass a school bus on the right.
This school bus safety message brought to you by Joel Comfort Toyota, BMW, and Collision Center, 120 East Clinton Avenue in State College.
Hey, sports fans, make sure to visit Your Cigar Den and Monte Cristo Lounge in downtown State College after the game. They have more than 400 cigar choices, including the popular line of handmade Nittany and Letterman cigars. Stop in and see for yourself why alumni from across the country and around the world return to Your Cigar Den each year to remind themselves of their good old college days and to relive the spirit of their alma mater. Now open Sundays from noon to 5, Your Cigar Den and Monte Cristo Lounge, 127 South Fraser Street on Calder Way, behind the corner room, downtown.
Don't sit around and sweat when your air conditioning isn't working. Triangle Heating and Cooling can answer your service call within 24 hours or less, or your service call is free. They can fix all your plumbing and electrical problems too. Plus, all their HVAC work is guaranteed for a full year.
Comfort you can count on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call 814-355-7653. Triangle Heating and Cooling for all your comfort needs.
Waking up to a hot home? PBCI Allen can help. Shower on the fritz? PBCI Allen can help. PBCI Allen can even help when your outlets stop working. Once you make the call, you can rest easy knowing PBCI Allen is on the job. Their techs aren't just well-trained, they're extremely friendly. You may even want to take them to work with you. Speaking of work, PBCI Allen can help there too. From commercial HVAC, plumbing, and electrical sprinkler systems, restaurant and refrigeration equipment, PBCI Allen does it all. Make the call today. You won't be disappointed. Dial 814-238-3756. PA license number 11414.
back to the Penn State Postgame Show, sponsored by Lion Country Kia on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 99.5 The Bus. There was one moment that helped decide the outcome of today's contest.
Long and deep far side, reaches out and juggles, got it, touchdown, Penn State!
Now the guys nominate the play of the game. Sponsored by Center County Recycling and Refuse Authority and the Nittany Lion fans who took the time to use the blue bags to recycle at today's game.
Clifford sprints out, lofts it up, touchdown Penn State! Unbelievable! Kevon Lee, magical! With 57 seconds to go!
Purdue was loud, and you could hear a pin drop at that point. Why'd you pick that play?
Well, obviously, that's a play that won the game. Yeah. Obviously, it's a play that everybody's going to remember in terms of the drive, big drive. And I'll tell you, just one quick point. You listen to this game on the radio. You had the chance to listen to Steve, Jack, and Brian. Unbelievable broadcast team.
Yeah,
some of the best in the business.
Privileged to go before them and follow them up.
And then if you didn't have the chance to get near the radio and you listen to that, Gus Johnson, man, does it get better than that? Gus Johnson and Joe Klatt. Does it get better than that?
I'm so glad that Fox is the partner with Big Ten, because you're going to get more Penn State football games with Gus Johnson. He's honestly my favorite TV play-by-play guy. All right, this was my play, and I have to go different from you. But honestly, a big difference, because sometimes you go cold or you go quiet at the end of the first half after you get a big turnover and stop a drive against your opponent. Well, Penn State decided to gamble, and it paid off.
Clifford dancing around, directing traffic. Oh, what a nice throw and a great catch by Strange. Still running. Strange down the sideline. Touchdown, Penn State. 67 yards.
They scored 21 points in the second quarter.
14 big ones on a turnaround there, too. You had obviously Purdue driving to take the lead there before halftime, at very least, to get a field goal, make it 14-13, and boom, fumble. Joey Porter Jr. with a great recovery, and just like that, Penn State goes down the field. What a drive. Really just, you felt like might have deflated Purdue, and it didn't. They came back strong second half, take the lead.
14 unanswered points for themselves.
Yeah, but that was a huge drive, I thought, without a doubt.
This is the Penn State Postgame Show, sponsored by Lion Country Kia. We want to get your calls. Be quick here. We'll give you anybody that wants the opportunity to phone in real quick, because when we get to James Franklin, we're going unfiltered, and that's here in just a couple of minutes here. 814-272-9625, 867-9287. 272-9625, 867-9287, area code 814. The Penn State Fan Hotline is sponsored by Comforts Jewelers in downtown Bellefonte. Bellefonte's family of staff provides a friendly and knowledge-filled experience to create special memories and fulfill all your jewelry needs. It's Comforts Jewelers in downtown Bellefonte. And like I said, just any other plays that stood out to you from both positive and negative for Penn State that just really turned the game? That Payne Durham near catch, that was it. That was a nail in the coffin.
I think that whole drive by Purdue, I can't go back. I keep harping on it, I know, but man, that whole drive, you had the big pass play to Jones. You got the first down. You're in a position there where Penn State's got to use their timeouts. You didn't let them use them. You threw the football. You completely abandoned the run, and just Penn State used one timeout. That was just a terrible job of play calling by Purdue on that drive. Really could have put the game away. Jeff Brom said in his postgame they were one first down away. He was right. They were one first down away from winning this football game. They just had questionable play calling at best. That stuck out to me, without a doubt. The Lambert Smith slant, where Purdue just tackled poorly, but Lambert Smith made a heck of a play and got into the end zone. I thought it was another great play.
Still on the docket, the James Franklin press conference, which is coming up immediately after our break around the Big Ten later on, and we will preview Ohio and the upcoming schedule for Penn State football. It's the Penn State Postgame Show, sponsored by Lion Country Kia, with myself, Zach Seyko, and Jason Lord here on State College's ESPN Radio and 99.5 The Bus.
Penn State fans, getting the best in Penn State apparel and gifts has never been easier. With a couple of clicks on your computer or mobile phone, the student bookstore can make it happen. Whether it's the latest styles of Penn State apparel or great PSU items for your tailgate, the Big Blue on the corner has it all. With great prices, fast service, and a huge selection of Penn State apparel and gifts, you can't go wrong shopping at thestudentbookstore.com or visit SBS at 330 East College Avenue in downtown State College. SBS is open 7 days a week and always online at thestudentbookstore.com.
Summer's here. Time to turn your focus to all those yard improvement projects that have yet to get done. Don't worry, Triangle True Value Rental has you covered. They have all the tools and machines you need to turn your to-do list into a done list, like wheeled and track skid steers, multi-excavators, 30-foot lifts, compact tractors, and much more. Call 814-355-7368 to reserve your rental today, or go online to trianglebuilding.com.
For every project we've got what you're looking for.
Waking up to a hot home? PBCI Allen can help. Shower on the fritz? PBCI Allen can help. PBCI Allen can even help when your outlets stop working. Once you make the call, you can rest easy knowing PBCI Allen is on the job. Their techs aren't just well-trained, they're extremely friendly. You may even want to take them to work with you. Speaking of work, PBCI Allen can help there too. From commercial HVAC, plumbing, and electrical sprinkler systems, restaurant and refrigeration equipment, PBCI Allen does it all. Make the call today. You won't be disappointed. Dial 814-238-3756. PA license number 11414.
We admit the curb appeal of Beer Belly's beverage is a little limited, but for what you lose in closet space, you gain in awesome space. Lagers facing east, imports facing west, and good times available in every square foot. But unless you're one of the more than 500 labels we carry every day, you'll have to settle for the couch. Beer Belly's beverage. It's where beer lives. Find us on Facebook or at beerliveshere.com.
Now back to the Lion Country Kia Penn State postgame show on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 99.5 The Bus. What did the coach think about today's performance?
Hey guys.
Let's hear directly from James Franklin in his postgame press conference. Sponsored by the Penn State Bookstore, the official bookstore of Penn State Athletics. For all your blue and white gear this season, visit the Penn State Bookstore gift shop at Beaver Stadium or on campus at their spacious location at the Hub and Shop, always 24/7 at psu.bncollege.com.
Well, first of all, like always, I appreciate you guys coming out and covering Penn State football. Got to give Purdue a bunch of credit. I think they're good on offense. Obviously, the quarterback is really good, super accurate, processes quickly, and they do a great scheme of getting the ball out of his hands very, very quickly. Defensively, I thought they did a really good job. They were stemming to an odd front, a little bit more than what we anticipated, but that's going to happen in the first games. Offensively, we were kind of either 3 and out and punt or drives for touchdowns. We got to be more consistent. We got to make more plays. We dropped some big-time balls on offense, not only for Sean, but when Drew went in there, had a chance to make some plays for him. And then really on the same side on defense, we had a chance for some interceptions and some big plays. It was awesome to see Barney and Moore come in and punt really well after waiting his time to take the job, and I'm super proud of him and happy. But this is a character win for our program. It was a tough win. Be able to win it in a 2-minute drive at the end. We've had a few of these over the years. We worked it a ton during training camp. We worked it this week. It's something we do every week. And obviously with Sean's experience and confidence, we were able to make some plays and get it going. So give Purdue a ton of credit, but there's a bunch of stuff we got to get corrected tomorrow. We will have meetings and practice tomorrow. But obviously it's much better to learn these lessons and grow with a win, a tough win on the road, 12 out of the last 13 years.
James, what happened to Sean that he had to leave the field? And secondly, did you consider replacing him after the interception because we saw Drew warming up?
Yeah, so he cramped up, had to go in and get an IV, then came back, and then started to cramp up again. Wasn't sure if he was going to be able to go, so we got Drew going again, and then he was able to obviously get in there and play. I thought Drew did some nice things when he was in. Hopefully we get him some time next week as well. But at the end of the day, I thought that experience there, especially that last drive, really mattered and helped us.
Sorry, Mark.
James, you seem committed to playing a lot of guys on defense deep into the game. Was that to keep those guys fresh on a hot night, or kind of what was the thinking there?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. We had a plan to rotate. I am determined to develop depth. Last year, obviously, we weren't able to do that. It cost us. So we are going to develop depth by playing guys. If you think we played a lot of guys this week, we plan on doing it again next week. And hopefully that will help us in fourth quarters like tonight. And hopefully that will help us later in the season in keeping guys healthy.
You call this a character win. How much is this a character showing for Sean as well, coming back to the Big Six and leading down the field for him?
Yeah, I mean, Sean is, in my opinion, everybody's got different lenses, but in my opinion, Sean has shown character over his entire career. So I'm really happy for him. But yeah, the pick six, obviously you never want turnovers. And then turnovers for touchdowns are significant. But yeah, we battled back. I thought the sideline was great with him. I thought Coach Yurcich was great with him, which that's really important too. The guy knows he made a mistake. You can only come to the sideline and get your head ripped off. So I was proud with how really the whole organization handled it. And he'll grow from this as well, even though he's a 38-year-old, 8-year senior.
We'll go Daniel, and then we'll go John McGonigal.
James, 30 seconds left in the first half. You guys decided to push the ball instead of taking it in for halftime and getting the touchdown. What went into, making that decision to be aggressive there? And that play to Brenton, what did you see on that?
Yeah, we had 3 timeouts. It was 30 seconds to go, so we felt like, hey, let's start on first and second down, see if we can get something going, and if we can, keep going. The 3 timeouts played a major factor in that. I was really proud of our players and our staff. Really, at the end of the half and the end of the game, we were able to have all of our timeouts, which a lot of times early in the season, you have to burn timeouts for silly things. So I thought that was big. The turnover at the end of the half by Zach Key was big, because that kind of factored in with the middle 8. Which we all know is an important stat in football. They got to score at the end of the first half, and then I think they opened the second half with a score. So that was a big part of the game. There's no doubt about it. But we had 3 timeouts in 30 seconds, which, to be honest with you, in college football, with as many ways there is to stop the clock, we want to be aggressive in those situations.
James, Chop had a big pressure at the end of the game with pass rush, so didn't seem like he was getting home as much earlier in the game. How would you assess the whole pass rush?
Well, what I would say is if you really study Purdue and look at how quickly they get the ball out of his hand, even when he got pressure, he's throwing the ball. I think a lot of times to maybe encourage a pass interference penalty, but he gets the ball out quickly. There's very few people that get a ton of sacks against these guys. They do a really good job with it, but we were able to get sacks when it mattered most, and then obviously we got to build off it.
Audrey, then Adam.
James, you're right. You guys had all 4 running backs involved by the first play of the second quarter. Are you committed to kind of keeping that rotation going, or do you want one guy to maybe see more carries than another?
Yeah, it's kind of like I've said in the past. I think we'll probably go in the next game based on how this game went with a very similar philosophy, and then if somebody takes over and gets real hot, then we'll adjust as we go. But right now, we got to watch the tape and talk about it as a staff. But right now, if I had to guess, we'll probably be in the same similar rotation next week.
Surgeons keep our hearts beating. They do the amazing, help save lives, and so can you. Your CSL plasma donation can help create 24 critical life-saving medicines that can give Grandpa the chance for his heart to swell when he meets his new grandson, or give a bride the chance for her heart to skip a beat on her wedding day. Every plasma donation helps more than you know. Do the amazing. Help save lives. Donate today at your local CSL Plasma Center and be rewarded for your generosity.
Your home, it's your sanctuary. And your kitchen, it's the space where you can dine, relax, socialize, and even catch up on some work. So whether you're ready to build the kitchen of your dreams or want to remodel your current one, turn to the professionals at Big Valley Cabinets, a local favorite for top quality cabinetry. Let one of their friendly representatives come to your home, take accurate measurements, and provide you with a free estimate. Call Big Valley Cabinets today at 717-935-2788 or visit them at bigvalleycabinets.com.
The Tavern Restaurant, located in downtown State College, has been a local tradition since 1948. Whether it's your first date or your first dinner out since the kids left home, visit us for an evening to remember. We recently completed an extensive renovation and have beautiful spaces perfect for celebrating those special moments with your special someone. The Tavern Restaurant is ready to help you make any occasion unforgettable. To make a reservation, call 814-238-6116 today. That's 814-238-6116.
Honor Penn State Athletics military veterans with the opening of the new exhibit, I Am a Penn Stater, Nittany Lions in World War II, at the Penn State All Sports Museum. I Am a Penn Stater chronicles the contributions these athletes made during the conflict, from their training to fighting on battlefields to their post-war occupations. Check out their letters, photographs, diaries, and artifacts today at the Penn State All Sports Museum, located at the southwest corner of Beaver Stadium. Go to psusports.com/museum or call 865-0044.
Kick back, relax. Time for a beer. Whatever your brand, you'll find it here at Hickey's.
Football season is here, and whether you're hosting a party or a tailgate, WR Hickey has got you covered with something for everyone. They're more than just great domestic, import, and craft beers. Hickey's also carries a big selection of seasonal brews, like Oktoberfest, autumn ales, pumpkin beer, and hard ciders too. Stop by and shop their expanded showroom in person and see for yourself all the great beer Hickey's has to offer. Don't forget to ask about their monthly giveaway items. No purchase necessary, and browse their new collection of Hickey's swag, including hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and more. Hickey's is your local beer headquarters. Visit them on East College Avenue.
Hickey Beer Distributor. Nothing like the taste of a cold beer.
WR Hickey reminds everyone to please drink responsibly.
Now back to the Lion Country Kia Penn State postgame show on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 99.5 The Bus. Let's check in on what's happening around the Big Ten. Sponsored by PBCI Allen Mechanical and Electrical. Choose PBCI Allen Mechanical and Electrical for all your HVAC, electrical, plumbing, sewer, commercial refrigeration, freezer repairs, and electric car charging station installs. PA license number 11414.
One final time, he's Jason Lord, I'm Zach Seyko. Penn State is 1-0, 35-31 is the final over Purdue from Ross-Ade Stadium in West Lafayette. Currently, as it stands, Penn State's the Big East champion. But they do lead. They technically lead the Big Ten East.
The Big Ten East. It helps when nobody else plays. That happens that way.
And play more.
And Purdue is a favorite to win the West, and they're in dead last right now.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Well, tied with Nebraska.
Tied with Nebraska. I forgot about
Northwestern.
Right side about Purdue. Brian Brom and Jeff Brom are both safe. Scott Frost, I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, Minnesota picked up a win as well, but these weren't conference wins. Penn State is 1-0 in conference. Purdue's 0-1 in conference. Northwestern's 1-0 in conference. Nebraska's 0-1 in conference. Illinois and Minnesota are just 1-0 overall. But Illinois has a very important game tomorrow, actually. They play Indiana.
Yeah, good one.
Indiana. That is on Fox Sports 1 at 8 p.m. Michigan State plays tomorrow night against Western Michigan. Michigan State is a 21-point favorite coming off of a Peach Bowl appearance where they played Pitt. A lot of opt-outs, both teams, but now they are the college football free agency destination, so will be deemed to see.
Nebraska's the transfer portal destination.
Yeah, it will be the island of college football misfits. Will Mel Tucker be able to continue to build a team year to year, a makeshift team? Or is it going to catch up? Because I think he benefited a lot from some of Mike D'Antoni's players. He's only going to be able to do that that much longer. Also around the Big Ten, number 8 Michigan is playing against Colorado State. This is the game that Cade McNamara is starting. J.J. McCarthy starts the following week. Iowa faces a feisty FCS team in South Dakota State. I'm just interested in that one just because South Dakota State is usually in the thick of it every year. Maryland hosts Buffalo. Rutgers is on the road at Boston College. Nebraska hosts a very tough team in North Dakota. I hope that they are able to bounce back. Wisconsin is hosting Illinois State. And then Notre Dame and Ohio State are the nightcap. If you are not watching that game, well, maybe you have some other interests, but that is the big one. 2 and 5, the Buckeyes and the Fighting Irish in Columbus. If you want tickets, the cheapest ticket is $227. 7:30 kickoff. We are carrying that game on State College's ESPN Radio. And again, thank you for joining us on the Penn State postgame show on ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450, WQWK State College, and 99.5 The Bus, WBUS Center Hall. We will take one final phone call if someone is still awake with us and wants to chat. 272-9625, 867-9287. You put the 814 in front of it. Let's talk about Ohio real quick before we finally hit the hay and go to bed.
It's been a long one for you, yeah. It's been a long day. Ohio, I think, is going to be, you hate to say the Denny Green they are who you think they were. I think that's probably who they are right now. They're a team that's going to be your typical conference team, that MAC team that is going to, try to force the football down the field a little bit, try and throw the football, try and play it close to the vest a little bit. Penn State, I think, is a much deeper team. They're going to rotate well, just like they did tonight. And, it's obviously first home game, always going to be a little bit of jitters, but I think Penn State is a heavy favorite in this game for good reason.
All right, we have our final caller of the night after 2 a.m. You must love Penn State football. Who are we talking to here on the Penn State postgame show?
Hey, you're talking to Rob Harkins. I'm in Venice, Florida. I was actually your first caller about an hour ago. I have a statement and question about the targeting call.
Okay.
I know you guys talked about it very briefly, but on the play, it looked like it was an arm to shoulder pad and then a helmet, and then an arm to a helmet, and then a little bit of a helmet to helmet. I just don't understand how this targeting call keeps getting called against us. It happened in the Outback Bowl, which I was at, and that was the last Outback Bowl there was ever going to be. But this targeting, it just seems like it's happening to us every single week, and the plays are so close, but we never win one. And the pass interference right there at the end of the first half also, it looked like it was pass interference, but when we saw it from a different angle, there was about 18 inches between the players. And I just don't understand how we keep losing out on these calls. Thank you so much. I love listening to Penn State. I went to Millersville. You guys do a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question, the comments, and the feedback. Ron, we really appreciate that, especially after 2 a.m. here, Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully we have some West Coast listeners that are like, oh, this is great. This is right before bedtime. But that's devotion right there. But then, again, thank you so much for listening into our pregame and postgame show coverage. Again, we do this 3 hours before every kickoff, and then we recap it roughly about 1 hour after the conclusion of the game as Steve Jones, Jack Ham, and Brian Tripp do a post-game show. As for the targeting call, I mean, it was the wrong call. Everybody agrees, in short. In terms of the people that were covering the game, yes, Steve Jones, Jack Ham, Brian Tripp, they all disagreed with the call. You ask Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson, they thought the call was very questionable. James Franklin said it himself. He was going after the ball. Football's a bang-bang sport. Targeting, yes, needs to be redefined because
it needs to be defined, period. Yeah. It's not even defined.
Is it incidental? Is it any sort of contact to the head? Or because targeting to me says you are trying to use the crown or your helmet with intent to lower your head and spear somebody. I don't see that anymore. I think the penalty and the suspension has done its job.
Well, it has. Do I see it from time to time? Yes. Did I see it on that play?
And then you eject them.
Yeah,
you get rid of those players because they're dirty. Did I see it on that play?
No freaking way. And that was just that was an absolutely awful call. Abdul Carter's doing exactly what you're supposed to do in that spot. Go after the ball and instinct play. action is fast down there.
He
and
thought it
that
was a live
opportunity,
ball.
He thought it was a live ball. He went after the ball. He did nothing wrong on that play, and that's just a terrible call. And there's no sugarcoating it. It didn't take long to get a bad targeting call in college football this year. We're in week 1, and we've already got one, and we'll have probably plenty more as the season goes on.
Penn State and Ohio, fortunately for them, Abdul Carter, you get that learning moment, really. Drew Allar gets that learning moment, even though it was, you saw a lot of freshmen on the field tonight, and I think that's going to be the case, especially against Ohio. Week 2, we will be outside of the Brace Jordan Center, live on location, 3 hours before kickoff, so that is a 9 a.m. start for a noon kick, and we will do the postgame show up in the press box at Beaver Stadium after the conclusion of the game. Again, final score 35-31. Penn State beats Purdue and is 1-0 overall, 1-0 in the Big Ten. There's really not much that you really need to know about Ohio. I expect Penn State to be a 4-touchdown favorite in this game.
Yeah, big favorite. Yeah.
They're at home. Ohio's expected to finish in the middle of the MAC East. They are replacing Frank Solich. That is going to be probably the toughest thing that Ohio has to do.
Nebraska's not done it in 20 years. Frank Solich, they've not been in the same since he's left.
Yes. Solich, the former head coach at Ohio, he turned in some really good seasons, but he got up there in age.
Army in Nebraska, too.
Yeah. So Ohio is going to have to improve from 3-9 last year.
Right.
And it's just kind of the virtue of just being a smaller school. They have some new coordinators, 9 starters back, but other than that, they were last in pass efficiency defense. So honestly, Sean Clifford might have another 4-touchdown pass type of game. And they were 7th against the run in the MAC. So just overall, the defense is atrocious. Penn State should have no problem putting up 40-plus points and getting Drew Allar or Christian Veillere, the freshman running backs, extra carries, the freshman wide receivers, and then more important, I think the defense really needs the depth because you're just getting hit on every single play, and the depth is there, but I want to see as much experience as you can get. The Chippewas of Central Michigan are actually a better team. I think that game will be a little more challenging. Penn State will have to be on its toes, but Ohio, I don't like saying this, but this is a cupcake game. Penn State should win, no problem. Win 42-7, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about college football now is how the seasons have started the last 2 years. Penn State's opened with a Big Ten game on the road both times, and but I think sometimes you go with the cupcakes like Michigan has in their first 3 games this year, and most other teams have done it. Alabama's got Utah State, I think, are coming up on Saturday.
Utah State's a really good program.
Yeah, good program, respectable program. North Dakota, I think you could argue, really is respectable too against with Nebraska, but I think obviously both teams will win big, but I think ultimately, when you look at Central Michigan and Ohio, the similarity for me, the defense struggles. I think Central Michigan's a better team, but I think they're tough. Not a good defensive team. Ohio, same thing. These are the kind of games I do think you need on the schedule, kind of the tune-ups to get your depth going, to get your freshmen a lot of playing time, and really to establish kind of consistency as you go into those tougher games. You're going to be tested week 3 no matter what. I think Auburn's in disarray right now, yes, but I do think you are going to be tested in that tough environment, and tonight was a good preparation for that. You tough environment, blackout in Purdue, and you ultimately survive. You win 35-31, you win. That's the most important part.
Penn State 35, Purdue 31, the final from Ross-Ade Stadium in Indiana. Thanks so much. Second year on the broadcast. Mark Snyder and I thought we made a great duo, but I am really excited for the broadcast team this year that consists of Jason Lord, who's with me here tonight, Thomas Frank Carr, who's going to be with us on away game coverage, and E.S. Hawkins, former Penn State defensive lineman. Just an incredible person who joined us for the guest segment with the celebrity as our celebrity, but he'll be back as a regular analyst for home games on the pregame and postgame show. So just so everyone's aware, next week on Saturday, September 10th, we welcome Matty Fresh. You might know him as the artist of the Trace McSorley song, the Saquon Barkley song, and the Jahan Dotson song. So if you love Penn State, you got to take a listen to any of those tracks. a good friend of mine, a really diehard Penn State fan, diehard college football fan, and knows his stuff. He will be our celebrity guest for next time, and we go live at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, leading up to Ohio at 12 o'clock, Saturday, September 10th. Jason, any final thoughts before we let our listeners go to bed?
No, it's been a long night, boys and girls, ladies and gents. I think you obviously have earned the night if you'd stuck with us. We appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Really, just much appreciated. Great coverage today for everybody, obviously. And yeah, the final thoughts, just simply build on this win. A win's a win no matter how you got there. And I think the rotations saw a lot of depth tonight and saw a lot of playing time. And what you remember the most was Sean Clifford, how he won the game tonight. I think as a fan is what you got to remember, and take that into week 2.
Penn State football is back. They get the win in week 1 over Purdue, 35-31.
Postgame show, sponsored by Lion Country Kia, on your flagship stations for Penn State sports. ESPN Radio 103.7 and 1450 WQWK State College and 99.5 The Bus, WBUS Center Hall. Thanks for joining us during our complete coverage of the Nittany Lions today. And remember to tailgate with State College's ESPN Radio and 99.5 The Bus 3 hours before every Penn State football game.